Morning, today is Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. Present with us right now is the events coordinator, Bruce Brinkowski. Bruce, do you want to give us an update, please?
What this is regarding is the red schoolhouse basement. I keep getting emails or phone calls regarding things that have to be done, mainly because I pay the claims for the course, so I kind of get those calls, and Pat gets calls. Brett's been involved, so I think what I wanted to do is get everybody together and figure out what needs to be done in the basement at the red schoolhouse and who's responsible. I got a copy of a bid for the work that they wanted done for over $25,000. So, and I have no idea
Who did that?
this came from. I was copied on this, came from Bighorn General Construction.
Yeah, but who asked for the bid, I guess?
I think it was Carly.
That, I don't know the details of that bid, but it is not 25,000. That was for a lot of the work that already is done. So a portion of that bid is for what we'll discuss today, and I'm happy to jump in and start talking.
Okay. So in any event, I thought it would be good for us to get here and want to hear from Pat, what he thinks needs to be done down there. We'll hear from Brett, and we'll go from there. So I'd like to toss it over to you, Brett, to see how we go from here.
All right. My name is Brett Lee, and I think I know almost all of you. I am the president of the Clancy Old Red Schoolhouse Foundation. This is Heather Nelson. She's the vice president. Clancy Old Red Schoolhouse, just because I think there's new commissioners and stuff, and I've heard like weird rumors. Clancy Old Red Schoolhouse Foundation is a nonprofit. I've been around for almost 2 decades now, dedicated to the preservation and beautification of the East Campus, which is the Old Red Schoolhouse and the old gym, which we currently actually hold the lease on, and have had that lease for 2 years. Have leveraged our nonprofit status to tap into money to convert that old gym from just cold storage to a functioning gym space and community space that will be turned back to the school in September. That's how the community's done a ton of work. Over the years, we've used our nonprofit status to apply for grants or done fundraising to do a lot of projects on that old red schoolhouse. We've put in gutters, we've put on a new roof, we've contributed money to bathroom renovations, new windows, and most recently, and that's kind of one of the main reasons we're here, is we received a $45,000 grant from Brownfields to mitigate and abate asbestos and lead paint in the basement. That grant also came with a $4,500 loan, which we took on as well. The basement has been closed for years because of lead paint and asbestos, which is kind of goofy because I ate lunch down there. But
Well, Heather probably didn't.
yeah, the idea was, if that space there is no plan to use that space for anything. But if there ever is a desire to do anything down there, a very expensive first step has been done. What they did, the contractor that Brownfields hired, is they stripped all of the asbestos sheetrock out of the building and encapsulated lead paint, replaced a bunch of windows, boarded up a couple window locations that were broken windows, and replaced some doors that were covered in lead paint and or asbestos. The reason I'm here is we had a board meeting 2 weeks ago, and we passed a motion to reach out to the county to encourage the county to bring the boiler room up to fire code. Mr. Mullen could correct me, but I don't know if that boiler room was up to fire code prior to this work being done, but it's certainly not now because it has no sheetrock on the ceiling or the walls. That and it has no door. Yeah. I met with Mark Kreiner, who is the state fire marshal for our region down there during the project, and spoke to him on the phone afterward. My impression is that fire code is squishy. Fire marshals have leeway, and he was basically like, yeah, this needs to be done eventually. And so I don't want to give the impression that that building is at risk of being shut down right away, because that is not what Mark Kreiner told me. But maybe, but I don't know. We currently have about $3,000 left on our loan. And it could be a discussion for our board to contribute that to whatever needs to be done in that boiler room. I can't commit to it here because we haven't made that motion and committed that money. But basically, it was our board's chief concern that the building is not up to fire code, and therefore, that's and what it would take to bring up fire code, I would lean on the county to do, because I'm not a maintenance person. But that's really why I'm here, is to kind of give you an update on what we've done, who we are, what we've done, where we're at, and kind of further the discussion on the red building and making sure it's usable moving forward, because we all care a lot about it. It's the county's main vector to reach out to citizens on the north end. You have 3 county entities in there. It's a great resource for us. So happy to answer any questions if I have answers, but that's why I'm here, why we're here.
Not to complicate things, but on September the 26th, the commissioners received an inquiry from the museum board discussing all the things that they need done. They mentioned the Brownfields grant, but they said the total amount of the grant could not cover complete restoration of the facility. Following removal of the asbestos, some work has been done to replace windows or board them up, and then they list some of the issues that they're concerned with. So where does the museum board and?
Well, we're independent of the museum board, and we certainly want to communicate with them and consider what they have to say. And we don't do anything in that building without the blessing of the county, and in this instance, the blessing of the school as well. You are the lessees, but the school owns the building. I would leave it up to the county to decide what's a priority. The museum board was well aware that renovation was not a part of this. It was abatement. So that basement was not being used prior. It's not being used now. We're not putting new sheetrock up in the basement. That's not a goal. It's just, this was a expensive first step if the basement is to ever be used again. But from our board's perspective, the priority is making sure the building is functioning legally.
And safety.
Yeah.
The fire safety.
Yep, and so I would lean on the county and your maintenance expertise to decide what is a priority and what isn't a priority for that building, because the museum asked for certain things that were not part of, they approached us about certain things that are not part of the work we did, and are not our responsibility.
And in this email, they said the museum board proposed as a basement community room and several storage rooms for the library, museum, and health office. So I think they see this as a potentially functioning area.
And it absolutely could be. Absolutely. That just wasn't part of the grant that we received. The grant that we worked on was just to get rid of the hazards, just the asbestos, just the lead. So we did the first step by removal, and that's all that they allow.
So I sit on I'm not part of the museum, but I'm part of the meetings. And I think I think it's just a misconception of what they thought was gonna happen.
Yeah.
And it was just the lead paint and the asbestos, and what I hear from them, and I was down there for the first time 2 weeks ago, I think. I hadn't been in there in years before that. And I think that they expected everything to be cleaned up, everything to be refinished, and new windows, new doors. That was the first complaint, is that there were no doors or windows, they were boarded up or whatever. So but it's all conflicting stories.
Yeah.
They're saying, well, there's wires hanging here. Well, then I hear those wires been hanging there for years, probably when you ate lunch down there. I don't know.
It looks like a mess. I mean, it looks like a construction zone because there is no sheetrock. There is nothing down there now that was not down there prior, because the contractors cleaned everything up. I hauled a 16-foot trailer with the help of the Nelson family to the dump full of stuff from the basement before the work even started. But I mean, yeah, if you walk into the basement cold, it looks like a damn mess, because it is. But it's not a place to be used, aside from there is some storage down there, and the boiler room heats the building from down there. But that's things in addition to the basement, like the museum's desire to have that be a functional have a community room or whatever they said. That is aside from us, that is not what we did, that is not our call, that is a county building. We just did the work that was within the grant, and we did have a public meeting prior to the work being done, we were required to. Some museum folks did attend, Mr. Kirsch attended for a little while, and then you had to go to some other meeting. But, you know, when this work was began, the county had to sign off on it, and within that contract, it explicitly said like what was going on. So some of that extra stuff, like, they might have a desire for that, but has nothing to do with our board at this time.
Well, and I think through my discussions with Pat, I think we can take care of the boiler room, and that's next on our list, kind of, sorta, of what to do with that building. But the rest of it is way more money and time than I think any of us have right now, and I don't foresee that happening anytime soon. I think if it's cleaned up, maybe there's room for some storage down there. The asbestos and the lead paint's gone, it's sealed, the windows are in, the doors are in. I think Carly had some stuff down there, the museum had some stuff down there. And one of their concerns was stuff was gonna get ruined, but I don't think that's the case now. And once the boiler room's done, I think they could use some of it for storage if it gets cleaned up, but I don't see anything past that happening anytime soon. That's my take on it from conversations with Brett and Pat and the museum board and.
Yeah, that's all our board is here to ask about, is making the boiler room legal. And I mean, again, I'd lean on Mr. Mullen for any other, like, if he sees a hazard, that the county would like us to partner with, we can certainly bring that to our board, because we still do have a few $1,000 to spend. But we're not experts on, like, you know, there were certain statements made, like, this is a hazard, that is a hazard. I think it's ugly, I don't know if it's a hazard.
Yeah. And
That's the email they sent you guys in September.
yeah,
See the list, the things that Brett mentioned.
Another thing that was just brought up, just to bring it to your guys' attention, in our meeting, and again, there was another representative from the, museum board, which is great. There was two, I believe, and I believe there was two broken windows. The Brownsfield grant will not replace a broken window. They'll board it up to make it solid and secure, but they won't replace broken windows. They will only replace whole windows. So two of those windows were broken. They were replaced with plywood. One of the cheap and easy fixes would be just to finish the stucco siding on the walls on the outside, just stucco over the top of those, just to keep, for security, so kids specifically don't kick it in and try and break into the building. But also, I have a note that one of the basement walls weep or seep a little bit of water in the spring.
That's the northwest wall, and it has for many years.
Yeah.
That's why that room
Isn't used, but those are just the 2 points that we told the board that we would just let the county know. There is wood siding or wood board showing on the exterior, so it is kind of an invitation to try and break into it. And then, yeah, the seeping water. Those are the only two extras.
I'll just add to you, there were windows that were boarded up prior to any of this being done as well.
Mhm.
So it's not like that's a new thing. You know, there is some consternation about that, and depending on what the county decides to do, if we have money left over, you know, it might be something we discuss is stuccoing over that, because we're ready. All the sealing has been done, the sealing of those windows has been done to do that, but our next step was to come let you know what we just said.
So Britt, are you talking about just those two windows then?
Stuccoing them?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it would.
Or other windows too?
All of this is potential, because our priority after our board meeting is the boiler room and
Right.
advancing that. But if we have money left over, I guarantee it will be a discussion at our next board meeting, which will likely happen late January, early February. But the immediate priority was the boiler room for us, and that's, you know, beyond that is kind of, we're not sure.
So I think we just need to figure out the priority, which is the boiler room, figure out what that's gonna cost. You guys have a little extra money to maybe throw at that. You'll have to get your board to agree with that, but I think, I don't know if Pat can go figure out, or if we need to get a contractor. What do you think, Pat? Is that something you could look at, or do you wanna
Get it bid out,
get a bid out? Okay.
because
Okay, so I guess I'll just elaborate a little bit. Yes, the boiler room was fine before the project. But the boiler, there's more to the boilers than just this project. Those boilers haven't been inspected or permitted since 2017. All three of them. There's another boiler underneath the floor, underneath over by the new bathrooms. They haven't had a state inspection or insurance inspection or a license since 2017. That's a concern of mine. The boiler room was fine. Everything worked. We just went, about a month ago, spent $1,500 doing an inspection on our own inspection to bring them up. At least to know what we need to do to pass a state inspection. We're just lucky they're still running. But anyway, all the safeties are good on right now. All the vents are good. We might want to replace a few, like the low water cutoffs and things like that, just for regular maintenance. But that's not necessary right now. What's really necessary, and I met Mark Kreiner down there, we walked through the whole thing and talked about what he would like to see. And you're right, the boiler room is all he really cares about. The rest of it, he said, if you don't let anybody down here, especially no public down here, you can do whatever you want with the rest of the space, but that boiler room needs to have drywall in the ceiling, needs to have drywall. And the switches and the light fixtures and stuff needs to be mounted in normal. So that's what we need to do. What I'd like to do is cut out those old steam pipes that are in there before we do that. So it's a lot easier to put the new drywall. That's what needs to happen. Whether that's 5,000 or 6 or 8. It's something like that.
So is that something you wanna work on, Brett, or you wanna have Pat get bids for that?
Yeah, I don't wanna be involved in, I mean, I will say, this project started under one premise, and then like a lot of construction projects, you get a call and it's like, well, we actually have to do this too, and that created a mess. That created more work for the county after it's all said and done, so that's a lesson for me, but I'm not a maintenance person, I don't wanna be, we've already done, tons of bids and work, and
Okay,
I would just become a middleman between someone who knows what they're talking about and
Okay.
someone who doesn't, so,
well, we can do that, I'm sure Pat could.
And I've talked to Bridger myself. I wouldn't mind going back and trying to get some bids and get the boiler room. Because what I'm afraid of is the insurance company or whatever could happen. Somebody could go in there and say, where is your license? It's supposed to be right on the wall, whatever. That could bite you in the butt.
So we'll get that going. Pat, do you mind getting bids on that? You got time to?
And the other thing about those windows, just so that's clarified, the old windows that are boarded up, they have treated plywood and insulation, and all we really need to do, what I would do is paint them. I'd paint them red or brown or whatever color. Just to take away the contrast if you think it's an invitation or whatever. So they don't look like boarded windows. They don't need to be there. We don't need windows.
And that's something I think in the future that whoever it be, the library or you guys could get some more money and work away at the basement. I think it's a step-by-step process to get that usable again, if it ever could be.
Absolutely.
But I think the library and the museum need to realize what you guys did wasn't a project to get it opened up again. It was just a project to get it safe, so.
Yeah, and people need to be made aware of that. They ought to be able to just say, quit thinking about the basement.
Right.
Don't stay awake at night thinking the basement's gonna get fixed. Just put it out of your mind
Yeah, until you find some money anyway.
until something happens.
What about all these requests from the museum board? Is that just something that you get to deal with?
I would imagine.
But all these requests would be an issue if they wanted to do something down there, if they wanted to have a meeting or
And I
something
will
down there.
clarify, Mark, that he said, if you wanna store stuff down here, I don't care.
Right,
I just don't want people coming down.
and that it was never intended to be a project project.
So there's no reason the
Right.
museum can't, and they are already, they've still got their 6 or 8 things that were down before are still down.
Sure.
I think the
Health
library took
department.
all of their stuff out.
Hmm?
I think that Carly took all of her stuff out.
I moved all of their stuff out during the project and I moved it all back in afterwards.
So it's back there
So it's all
now.
back where it was. The room has no, again, the hallway that it's now in has no sheetrock and I don't think they like that because they can see wires and stuff and, I don't know how mu- I think all of that is basically like eyesoreness and not danger, but,
Definitely.
but, you know, just to clarify, like, this is not our building. We are not in charge of it. We just.
And we don't make decisions about it.
Yeah, so like, you know, absolutely what, Mr. Mullen is saying, like, we're all on board with, cause the building is really important to us, but it's the county's building. And we don't
Well,
do,
it's actually not.
well, it's the county's lease, it's the county's lease for the next 80 years.
Yeah.
So, like, we don't do anything without the blessing of the county, and I just wanna make that clear, like, it's not our building. I don't wanna be in charge of, that's one reason our board doesn't wanna be in charge of getting, bids and stuff, is cause it's just not our role to keep, boilers going, but we do have a little ownership in helping bring it up to code because we caused some of this grief, in terms of the sheetrock.
So we'll get bids, we'll figure out what that is. If you can talk to your board and say whatever you can throw our way for the sheetrock, so we can get this thing up to code. And then we'll let our other boards know, our museum and our library boards, if the basement wasn't redone so you can use it. You can still use it for storage, but it's not gonna be a gathering place by any means. Until we come
And
up with $1 million to get it
That's what
fixed.
the old gym's for, correct?
Yes.
Yep, and the old gym, you know,
Man, that's a beautiful project. You
Yep.
guys did a great
the
job.
subcommittee did a ton of work, acquiring money and also just doing it themselves, but that building has new floors, new roof, lights, water, heat. It didn't have any of that before, and the school superintendent attended our board meeting last week, and they're very excited to take it on and use it for gym space, which is really hard to find, and also leave it still available as a community center where folks could use it for craft fairs, because someone's gonna be using it for that, and like their wrestling club can use it, et cetera, so. That,
There's a wedding reception scheduled.
Yeah,
I'm
wedding
gonna try and use
receptions.
it for elections. I think it'd be great for that.
so it's
Great place for election.
that's, we did a ton of work on that. But that's a unique instance, that's the first time we've ever held a lease to a building, and we don't wanna do it very long, because it's expensive.
So does that answer what you think, Bruce? Does that sound like a plan?
Makes sense to me now, cause I kinda got thrown into this, not sure, but now I understand the museum board's concerns, which are more visual than anything else, where you are coming from and what Pat's gotta do, so yeah.
We all have our
Yes.
roles, and I think the boiler problem is something the county's gonna have to work on, whether Pat can do it. We'll just have to divide up that cost between the tenants. You know, we do that already with the power and everything else, so keeping those boilers up to spec is gonna be another expense that we'll have to add into the rent or whatever they pay, that they have to pay, so I don't think that's gonna be a big deal. Was this something overlooked for almost 10 years, huh, Pat? 8 years?
Basically, see, that was always licensed and the boiler operator was the school's person. And they just quit doing it. And I don't think we knew that.
Right,
I sure didn't.
no,
Till I went in there 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and I saw the old license on the wall. And since then, it's always been, whose is it? What is it? Whose
Yeah.
responsibility? Are these my boilers or are they their boilers? Cause I've got my boilers. I've got my license on them. Well, I don't have my license on these. Yeah, I think we just, I guess, need to do that.
yeah, cause the lease between the county and the school for that building is very vague,
I know.
to say the least, so it doesn't say, you know.
So,
But it,
Yeah.
it does talk about their boiler, the school's boiler operator taking care of that boiler, and then we were paying for whatever he had to do with it. That's
Oh,
what
it
the
does
lease
say
says
that in
on.
there?
but
For
it's
the
not
county, yeah.
happening because they're not taking care of it. So anyway, my goal, get the drywall up, make it fire compliant, get it licensed and get it on our insurance list, because right now Hartford Steamboaters has no idea if boilers exist.
Yeah, it might be something we need to check with the school, why they quit doing the boiler.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that so there's a whole packet that I got just the other day about this thick that deals with the lease from the county to the school, the leases that the school held with the health department and the museum prior to the county getting the lease on the building. So I briefly scanned through it. That's one of the things that caught my attention. And Steve went through it back in 2014, I think, and said, he's got all those same questions. What does maintenance mean? Because none of it's spelled out in there. It just says maintenance. But it does talk about the boiler in the school, so we can look at that too.
Right, because they used to have the license on it,
So,
and that's how those.
That has nothing to do with you folks, but good conversation. Good that you're in the know anyway. So we'll work on that.
yeah, I do think we need to fix the boiler room, get that done and
And
up to
otherwise,
code
once
and get
those
the
go,
boilers
don't
taken care of.
want to-
Whoever's supposed to be doing it probably needs to start doing it.
Right.
Oh, there you go.
I found out right beforehand.
So,
So we'll look at that contract, Pat, and see, before you put your name on the boiler, see if the school's supposed to be doing it. I mean, if they're supposed to be inspecting it, we'll put it back on them, cause there's no reason we should be doing it if their contract says that they should be doing it.
Yeah,
Or the
yeah,
lease
so
says
just
that.
let me know.
Yeah,
But I mean,
I'll send it to you.
I would just like to see everything legal.
yeah, no, that's
I
great.
mean, we know it's safe. That's not an issue. The issue is legality. The issue is somebody getting pissed off at the state and coming in and telling them to shut down.
And I think the Brownsfields project was also, I mean, that was 50 grand that got put into that building and got rid of some of the chemicals in there that are harmful, that could be harmful, I guess, so. A good first step to whatever somebody in the future wants to do as far as the project in there, so.
The museum doesn't have a very large budget, but the North Jefferson County Library has a pretty good capital reserve fund. And I don't know if they had a long list of requests like the museum did, but if they want it to be usable, they have capital improvement funds.
Right. Yep, absolutely. All right. Anything else, folks? You'll let us know, I guess, if your board wants to help with the cost of that sheetrock in there.
Okay, like I said, we won't meet till late January or
Okay.
February, but,
We should have bids and have a good idea by then.
hey Carly, they bumped us up a half hour. I found out right before, I texted you.
Sorry
I
to
didn't-
be
I
late.
didn't. This is Jim Brown, he's a member of our board as well as the museum board, and Carly, also on our board, but just to recap. So you can jump in if you wanna say anything. We talked about what the Corsh does. We talked about the Brownfields project and how it left the boiler room not up to code, and how we have a bit of money left over that we could discuss as a board contributing. We talked about the weeping wall a little bit. We brought that up. The plywood on the windows that replace the broken windows, but there's no windows there. The county is going to pursue getting that room up to code, the boiler room in particular. Mr. Mullen met with Mark Kreiner down there as well, and Mr. Kreiner said that you're fine to use it for storage, but the pump can't go down there, and we have to get the boiler room up. I'm not sure if I'm missing anything else.
No, that's the only thing.
So thank you.
And the boilers haven't been inspected or been taken care of since 1917.
2017, yeah.
So we're figuring that out. Craig said that Lee said that the school should be taking care of with their boiler license, and
Well,
they haven't been doing it. But
Yeah, and we were paying, it's my understanding from that lease that we were paying their boiler operator to deal with the boiler.
Okay. So that may be something we have to decide.
So I'll look at that. I'll send you the lease when I get back to
Okay.
my office.
If it might be just as well
And
as
it
you
could be
do.
that their guy retired and they don't have a boiler operator. So it could be, who knows what happened.
Yeah, who knows?
But regardless, they're not up to date.
Okay.
And I think we can take care of that. If we just need to know. I
Right.
guess we needed to know.
Yeah, we'll just put my name on it. I mean, that's simple.
Cause I think that dates back I think that's in our lease, but I think some of it dates back to where it was before the county was leasing it, but the health department was still there. They were leasing it before we were. There's like 3 leases on it.
That's.
So just for you guys, the project, if you're on the course board, you should probably already know that the Brownsfield project to do the basement was just to get the materials out of there, the harmful materials. It wasn't to remodel the thing so it would be useful, so we can still store stuff down there. That's about it. We're not gonna do anything past that until we get more money to actually do a remodel, so. Or any expectations that that place is usable down there is false. There's no usable space down there
Not,
besides
not for the
storage.
public.
Not until we get a bunch more money to get in there and sheet rock it and get everything in there that needs to be done down there, so. The reason for the Brownsfields grant was to get the asbestos and the lead taken care of down there, first step for actually being able to use that, but we got a lot of road to go before we can actually use it for anything besides storage, so, just so that's clear.
So the space is still available for storage. I represent the Jefferson County Museum, and we do store stuff down there. So it is usable for us to have it for storage. And I guess our expectation in order to use it that way is that there will be some work done to clean up the rooms and the basement area so that it is not a hazard to museum people going down there. Is the county going to work toward that point, or are you just going to make the boiler room code compliant?
Is there things down there, Pat, that are dangerous to go down there for storage?
I don't think so, but. Don't know, I don't think so.
Yeah, if you come up with something that's dangerous for you to get in and out of there for storage, let us know. We gotta.
Well, in terms of fire code violation, there are light switches hanging down, there are light fixtures that are just hanging by cords. There are various things that were pulled loose from the walls, electrical items that are just hanging loose now because there is no sheetrock to fasten them to.
Are those in boxes, Pat? Did you notice? Are those all?
They're
electrical
in boxes, if I remember what I
If
said.
they're in boxes and they're hanging there, they're probably fine. If they're wires hanging.
Well,
out-
they're not fine, they're a fire code violation. You cannot just leave a switch or outlet hanging loose, it's not allowed. That, I guess that is my concern, and there was also some ductwork that was pulled loose.
It was
The sheetrock
pulled through one
maybe.
wall into the old boiler room, I think is what it was. The square piece of,
We could look at that, Jim.
Okay,
and see.
that'd be great.
but I don't think anybody should be doing anything, not storing anything or anything else in the old boiler room. There's,
The old boiler room is gonna be off limits,
yeah,
for everybody and anybody.
nobody should be in there.
There's no reason to, there's.
Just
plenty
because of the
storage.
stuff on the floor and the old boiler itself and the pipes, and that's where the ductwork is pulled through. So that shouldn't be used for anything. But the rest of it should be
Rest of it's
fine
perfectly
for what
fine.
you were using it for before. I think the museum board's problem was they didn't wanna store stuff down there because the weather was coming in, the doors were semi-boarded up, the windows were semi-boarded up until it was all done.
Yeah, that was the situation that occurred after the Brownfields project.
Right.
That there was concern about, rodents and animals coming in through the partially blocked windows.
And that's all, they're all blocked now, is my understanding, correct? That's what I see. The windows are blocked, they're either boarded up, which we're also gonna deal with the outside of those. But there shouldn't be anything being able to get in there. So you guys are back to using it for storage if that's what you wanna do. Just the public can't be down there.
Okay,
The only questionable, I think, that the contractor that we hired to put the windows in Heslip, they did recommend, and I think Mr. Mullen will see this when he takes a look at the boiler room. They use just like that duct, that kind of like.
I talked to Hess.
That duct tape and that.
And I've been there since.
Okay, yeah, cause I think if that was like it's a fix for now, but I don't think it's permanent. It's where the.
What's gonna
that user
happen when
room-
we're done with the drywall project and the pipe removal project? I've already purchased the material to redo the vent pipe.
Okay.
The ignition air as well as, or the combustion air as well as the pipe.
Okay,
So we're good to go there once we get the, and for now, it's fine.
This is a big job. Thank you so much.
Mm.
And
It'd
thank
be
you
nice
for
to have
your
everything
service.
all figured out, that's all. That's all I want, is to have it figured out.
And there shouldn't be any storage in the boiler room either, so not the new one and not the old one.
there wasn't beforehand, I
Oh,
don't believe.
right.
No, it's just.
But it's just kind of open now. It's just 2x4 walls and.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll fix with that Pat's gonna take care of through a bid.
Okay.
So let us know what you find out, and we can discuss like our next step as a board at our next meeting. Thanks for letting us come talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Sorry we moved the meeting on you. We had a cancellation before you, so we thought we'd get done early and didn't realize we had this many people coming, or we'd have left it. So I'm sorry for getting ahead of you. All right, guys.
It is recorded, Carly, if you wanna listen to it.
Yeah, yeah, it is recording. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you guys for taking the time.
We deserve your
Jeremy?
All right.
Thank you.